At the awards ceremony announcing the current cohort of Stanton Fellows 2 years ago, I was asked to present the nature of my inquiry. How could I digest into a few words my desire to understand why it was so hard to help people who suffer from severe mental illness move off the streets? On my way to the ceremony, I picked up a rubber band ball from Staples. In Hollywood, we have learned that homeless people don't budge. They are not aware that they are sick, and they don't accept help. But if we could put a team together to help particular people, we were able to get them to a better place. Upon receiving treatment and a stable living situation, the quality of life for people like my friend Tori was arguably better. Hence, the Hollywood Top 14 list was born. In 2013, we sat around a table and we listed the names of the 14 people that we were most concerned about. We learned about psychiatric holds and how ERs would release people the same day. We were heartbroken because people were left to die on our sidewalks. The 3 X's represent those who died. It also seemed counterintuitive that the police had to be the first responders in this passion play. Why couldn't a psychiatrist come out to the bus bench where Roxanne was camped out and see the squalid conditions that she was living in? It was hard to make a case that a person was gravely disabled and needed to be cared for. To make sure that they didn't get dropped out of the system, we would follow people like Serge into the ER, into the court, into locked facilities, into the board and care homes. We did not lose track of them, but the system often does. Why was this so hard? With my fellowship in hand, I wanted to understand how it was that we came to this place in America. So back to the ball, which for me is a metaphor for the severely mentally ill who are homeless. Imagine the person inside. Does anyone know how to remove all these constraints? The ACLU supports the right to refuse treatment. We lack psych beds because of federal Medicaid rules. Privacy laws, HIPAA, prevent families from connecting with their mentally ill loved ones. The Stanton Fellowship gave me the bandwidth to read and meet and explore and confer. I read about the history of deinstitutionalization in America, the anti-psychiatry movement, and key Supreme Court rulings. I learned that there is a debate between those who argue that mental illness is a brain disorder that should be treated versus those who stand by the patient's right to refuse. I was encouraged to travel, but where? Where are they doing it better? In Miami, I did outreach with a clinical team in Miami-Dade County, and I met a visionary judge who had unraveled rubber bands in that community by creating a court-ordered diversion program. As heroic as these efforts are, they are not sustainable. I decided to visit Giel, Belgium, a place where since the 1300s, people with mental illness are fostered in private homes. Lovely Dimphna was beheaded by her insane father, and Giel became a pilgrimage site. But we'd have to find a patron saint of mental illness to replicate this in Los Angeles. So through the power of networking, which Stanton encourages, I serendipitously met a woman who said I must visit Trieste, Italy. She insisted. So she helped to make the introduction for me, and Trieste became the secondary destination for my European fact-finding trip. So Trieste actually turned out to be the pot of gold. I took a bus to the site where the old mental hospital was, and I wandered the grounds to connect with the history of this place. To prepare for my tour, I researched the visionary Dr. Franco Basaglia, who closed the mental hospital in the 1970s, and he built the community care system that we never built in the United States. The World Health Organization has recognized Trieste as a study site. What is unique about the Basaglia model? 5 principles. First, we must shift the focus from the disorder to the whole person, their needs and their rights. Second, ensure that there is a network of belonging and social reference groups. Third, promote citizenship for the most vulnerable, including the ability to work. This is a textile business. Fourth, resolve crises quickly. And fifth, don't rely on medical models, rely on social networks. What does all that mean? I realize now it is one thing to read about this, you actually have to go and see it. So by the time I arrived to tour one of the community mental health centers, I had read everything I could about Trieste. I met with Dr. Tommaso Bonavigo, and though I look happy here, I was actually quite depressed about the contrast between how people are treated in Los Angeles and how they're treated in Trieste. There were some fundamental things that were different. The Community Mental Health Center actually felt accountable to the community. In the Italian model, the police are not the first responders for situations in the community. Families are included in the treatment plan for people. All of these things that are rubber bands in America simply did not exist in Italy. Trieste, it just seemed impossible to replicate. But then I realized, well, maybe I've been looking at this all wrong. I've been searching for ways to remove the bands or figure out which bands are on here the tightest. Maybe I should look at what was on the inside, the person there. View the rubber band from its very core. A month after I came home, I received a notice that they were having an international conference in Trieste. I realized I could go with my Stanton funds, but that would be like the sound of one hand clapping. What if it would be possible to engage other LA County leaders to learn about this model and bring some of these radical concepts home? It is radical, and it seems impossible, but give up before we try? So a delegation is forming: the Department of Mental Health, the Mental Health Court, the District Attorney, LAPD, LA County Sheriff, LA County Jail, LASA, and others. I'm taking 12 people. For too long, we've relied upon our criminal justice system to care for our mentally ill, so the Trieste system will be a shock to the senses. Our fact-finding trip departs in 6 weeks from LA, where there are 4,200 people, mentally ill people in our county jail, to a place where mentally ill people are rarely incarcerated. From a place where people who live in board and care homes sit and smoke all day, to a place where clients have a sense of purpose in their lives. The story is not over, but somehow I have faith that the realization that I was looking at this from the wrong perspective gives me reason to hope. Dr. Basaglia predicated his vision for community treatment by focusing on the whole person, not on the rubber bands.